Us right now, Tom Casperson. And Tom, thanks for coming on this morning. I know it's a big day for the Republican Party, huh?
Well, it is, but I think it's even bigger for the people of the country, watching their voices now starting to get heard.
I should preface by giving your title. I'm sorry. Tom Casperson, State Representative. And what we're talking about is what happened in Massachusetts yesterday when the GOP got Coakley defeated, I guess is the best way to put it, and she was going to try to replace Edward Kennedy. Scott Brown was elected, and that's an upset.
It was a big one, and I think when you watch what unfolded there was a groundswell of the people on the ground, which the term we use now is we the people, and they engaged. And when they were looking at what was going on in Washington, and people are starting to listen to what these people are saying, they said no more. And if you look at Scott's message, it was pretty crisp. It was pretty crisp and pretty clear. He wants a limited government, less taxes, and more freedom for the people. And government intrusion into our lives has got to stop.
This sounds like the Tea Party kind of attitude.
It does, and again, that's what I think. Part of what was happening out there was the groundswell that is happening across the country, and we're seeing it more and more. And I think early on, the Tea Party movement was kind of belittled and put down, but I don't know how you walk away from it now and not say it's not having an impact, because clearly that message is resonating with people.
You know, it's today is the 1-year anniversary of President Obama's inauguration, and in a way, this was kind of a referendum on Obama, wasn't it, yesterday in Massachusetts?
Well, it was, but I think it's even bigger of a reformation on the entire process in Washington and government in general. It go all the way down to Lansing, and the same message could apply there, and that is that when people feel like they're not being heard by their government, the collective people, then you got a problem. And what we haven't seen in past years is the people rise up like we have in the last year and say enough's enough. Now you're seeing it. So I see good things on the horizon, because I believe candidates that step up now with the message of less government, less taxes, more freedoms for the people, I think they're going to be the guys that are going to step up to the forefront and win these things. But the warning for all of us is that when you say it, you better mean it.
Well, another thing, that made this more remarkable is that the weather was horrible, I guess, in Massachusetts yesterday, and the turnout was pretty heavy. So people felt strong enough to get out and go into the weather and go to the ballot box.
They did, and I know early on we were watching some of the national news reports on it, and some of the folks on the left were predicting that if it was a high turnout, then the Democrats would win. If it was a low turnout, the Scott would win. But actually, just the opposite occurred. And again, it was the people. The people showed them that they're not going to guarantee anybody their vote, and we want to hear what you've got to say. Like I said, I think it was good news. I think it was good news for the Upper Peninsula. I think up here we find a lot of independent people, independent-minded, and I think this message fits the Upper Peninsula. And so I'm looking forward to what's going to be coming forth here through this year.
I like how you're trying to bring it close to home here in the UP, and how it's good for the UP. This is also going to have an impact on the health care legislation in Washington, obviously, right?
It is, and you've heard, Mitch, how one side keeps telling everybody the other side doesn't have any message, it's just no, and that's simply not true. I believe, and I think the conservatives believe, that there needs to be health care reform, but a couple things need to happen. We need to break this down into components. As an example, if you're going to deal with insurance companies, then let's deal with insurance companies. Let's run legislation, singular legislation that deals with just insurance companies. Let's draft it so it's simple, very easy to read. People can understand it so that we, the people, understand what they're trying to do. And let's deal with insurance companies and then move on from there. And if it's tort reform, which, by the way, has not been mentioned with the current bills that are out there, it seems like they want to avoid that like the plague. That doesn't sound very bipartisan to me. But I think we do need to deal with it. Let's deal with it on a singular basis and be open about it and upfront, and let the people see what's in these bills. These 2,000-page bills with all kinds of things buried inside of them, that certainly is business as usual. And I think, and to their credit, the people have started to say we've had enough of that.
Representative Tom Casperson, then give us some specifics, if you could, how it's going to have an impact on the Upper Peninsula.
Well, the Upper Peninsula, we're looking at, we've got a congressional race coming up. We've got the state Senate race coming up. We've got all the House seats coming up. And again, I think that message resonates all the way down even to the state level. and Michigan in Lansing is dealing with many of the same problems, and some of the solutions that have been offered in the past have been much like what we're seeing this administration in Washington do, and I think that's what needs to change. And we need to bring the process back closer to the people, and I think a limited government approach is the answer, and I think that's what people are starting to say, and it's resonating, and I think the candidates with the right message now, and again, as long as they mean it, they're the ones that are going to see victory in November.
What about what went on in Lansing yesterday, where they're trying to reduce wages of state employees, eliminate the health care for representatives who've been in office for 6 years or more? There's been some major stuff being done down there, huh?
There has, but again, a lot of this becomes a political football versus doing what's right. I'm for all that. When I was in the legislature, our salaries were cut through our health care. We started paying more into it. We should lead by example. When there was a movement afoot to lower the salaries, I supported that. Those are all good things, but if you're just going to do it for a political ploy that the people think you're doing something good, but you don't follow through and mean it, then it really means nothing. And if we're going to reduce the size of government and we're going to control costs, then those type of steps need to be taken across the entire board and not just 148 legislators, senators, and House members. It needs to be the entire package. And that's what everybody seems to want to stay away from, and I think that's got to change. And I think we also need to prioritize the government as a whole. You know, common sense would go a long way. As an example, why in the world would we build a state police post for $45 million and then turn right around and tell the public we're going to lay off state troopers off the highway that are out there to preserve and protect us?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got to apply common sense. Common sense would tell me that you don't go forward with that state police project. You back off on that so you can keep the troopers on the road and do what the government's supposed to do, and that's protect the people. Instead, what did this government do? They did just the opposite. And that's just one example of many.
And that was one that nobody understood, myself included. Tom, you're going to be on the ballot this fall, right?
I am. I'm going to make a run for that 38th Senate seat. I think the timing's right. I think the people up here are ready to vote independently, and I'm excited about that. And I think that I think we've got the right message. And I guess what excites me more than anything is how many people are starting to come out politically active and get involved. And I haven't seen that in my lifetime, not on the conservative side of the ticket. And I think I know they're not going away, and I think that's a plus for people that believe in slowing this government down. And I think there's a lot of hope right now that this is actually going to take place and happen.
Tom, we're out of time. I'd like to talk to you again. We love your fresh ideas, and thanks for calling in this morning.
Okay, thanks, Mitch.
Okay, Tom Casperson, and talking about the election in Massachusetts yesterday. Davey Holmbo